Hello, today we are going through the first session of cross-mobile application development by eXseniarch. We are going to learn how to create cross-mobile applications, which means are capable of running on both famous mobile operating systems, Android and iOS. One handy and useful framework to do so is called React Native, created by Meta Platforms Incorporation. In this session, you will learn how to set up development environment and tools for React Native. All that you need, like Android Studio, Node.js, JDK, Chocolatey, and others, are totally free. Using this framework, you'd better to have it update, so it's preferred following the setup sequence from the React Native official website, reactnative.dev. Now you have to choose Guides from the top menu, select Environment Setup from appeared left menu, and then click on Setting up the development environment from its sub-menu items. In that page, along with some descriptions, you will see two headings showing two different development methods of React Native project, Expo CLI and React Native CLI. We ignore the Expo CLI because of delays, instabilities, and other problems, as it's based on online development and testing. So we are going to go through React Native CLI method in this tutorial, which is more stable because of being based on your local machine settings. Right after choosing your method, you have to select your development OS as Windows that we use for this tutorial and your target OS as Android. Although working with macOS will lead to closely similar results, as it needs Apple developer account and other settings will make a beginner to progress a little hard. Before going through the next step and set up Chocolatey, you will need to find Windows PowerShell. You may like to pin it to your taskbar as I did before, and then you have to make sure that you are running it as administrator like this. Right-click on the icon, then right-click on Windows PowerShell again and select the Properties item. Now in the Shortcut tab of Properties window, click on Advanced and click on Run as Administrator and then OK. Well, now we can use Windows PowerShell to install Chocolatey, Node.js, JDK, and etc. As a next step, go to the Chocolatey homepage, clicking the link over here. Click on Try it now. Select the individual. Ignore the steps as we did before, and simply copy this command line, clicking this button. Now go back to your PowerShell window, paste the command, and press Enter. It will download and set up Chocolatey on your machine. To make sure, as it recommends here, close and reopen your PowerShell window. Type in the choco/?mark command. Well, as you see these lines, it shows that it's done perfectly. Make sure seeing this green text showing the installed Chocolatey version. Well, let's go back to the React Native setup page. Next step is to set up latest versions of Node.js and JDK. Node.js is a runtime environment for running JavaScript codes out of the browser, as React Native code is basically JavaScript. Node.js is one thing we need. For this, you will need to click on the appearing copy button at the right corner of this black box as you see. Again, you have to open a new PowerShell window, paste it, and press enter. Please notice that this command downloads and sets up a Node.js and JDK both at once. JDK also is needed because Google has set a Java API for Android, which is our target OS in this tutorial. As you see, because of some network problems during the first run, this command was unable to fully download JDK and faced some errors. So I ran it again and it's done completely right now. The important point that you have to notice is that mostly during adding React Native components, we have to use PowerShell with no visual alerts. You have to accurately take care of text messages shown on the screen. Now we have to download and set up Android Studio because we have Android as our target OS. You can either go to developer.android.com/studio, or you can simply scroll down a little bit lower in the setup page to Android development environment section and click on the link of download and install Android Studio. Android Studio download page by default will show the compatible version of Android Studio to your computer's operating system, as here for my 64-bit version of Windows. So you can simply click on the green button of download Android Studio without any extra efforts, accepting the terms and conditions, and then click on download button of its latest version. When download completes, go to your downloads folder and run the setup file. Following the steps I suggested, let the Android Virtual Device checkbox remain on, as it will install emulated virtual Android phone on your computer. You're gonna need and use it as your test environment whenever your machine is not that lazy or you have no access to any real test devices. Accept and follow remaining as is, clicking next and install. Let the setup launch the Android Studio, checking this box and clicking Finish. Running the Android Studio for the first time will need you to do some settings. As a first timer, you are not gonna need to import any settings, so click on this radio button and press OK. After choosing your participation plan for sending statistics to Google or not, choose the standard setup type in here and click Next. The UI item is not that important for us because we're not going to use Android Studio as our development environment. So you can choose either Dracula or Lighten. In next step, it's going to show you how that is going to be downloaded and installed on your Android Studio, such as latest version of Android SDK, different SDK tools, hacks them, and etc. Next, and in the following window, click on each license group in left pane. Choose accept under terms and conditions frame for each one of them. And after this, pushing the finish button will download and install all we confirmed previously. You see, here Intel Haxam is installed as the last component. It's important as an accelerator for Android device emulators we may use. So, going back to React Native setup page is to make sure that our windows will fully recognize Android Studio, knowing if two important folders exist. First of all, click on copy button of this black box which shows the Android home folder. Open an Explorer window, paste it on address bar and press enter. As you see, the folder and its contents are there. Then we go back to our setup page, scroll down a little bit more and copy. Next black box's text, doing same to make sure it works fine. Now we are going to introduce the first folder as Android home to our windows. So we open an Explorer window, right click on this PC, go to Properties, and scroll down in About window, click on Advanced System Settings. In the New Windows Advanced tab, click on Environment Variables, which opens a new window. To be accurate and have no mistypes, go back to our setup page, copy Android underline home phrase, and go back to environment variables window. Click on new button under the top box, paste Android home in variable name input box, and the first folder address ending to \SDK as variable value, and click OK. Now, having content of the second black box, which ends to \platform tools on your clipboard, go back to the same environment variables window, and in the lower list box, name system variables, find path under the variable column, double click on it, and you'll see a list of paths for Windows. Click on New button and paste the platform tools value inside there that you've copied from the second black box. Well, now we're almost done with our React Native environment setup for our Windows Development OS and Android as our default target OS.